Get started right at 10. This is Andy Collins with Tridea Partners. Thanks for joining the webinar today. We're hoping to do these webinars on a more frequent basis, at least once a month. And so we're excited for this initial one where we're featuring BI360 and the team at Solver. So BI360, I think many are familiar with it, or some of you are familiar with it, but it is a reporting, dashboard, and planning and budgeting tool that works with various ERP and CRM systems. Obviously, most of you being from the Dynamics world, either AX or GP, as well as CRM. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So if you guys have questions throughout this webinar, if you wouldn't mind just typing them in the message box below, and then we look to handle those questions at the end in the last 5-10 minutes. Myself and Alex can address them. That way we can get through all the content we want to get through during the 45 minutes to an hour. So with that said, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Alex Geller with Solver and BI360. Alex, why don't you take it away?
All right, thanks Andy, and thanks everyone for joining me today. What I want to do is I'll start with a PowerPoint, just give you an overview of what Solver does, and how the various components in our suite will look within your architecture. Then the majority of the time I want to spend in the actual demonstration itself. So first is, what exactly is Solver? Solver is in the corporate performance management space, which is reporting, budgeting, and dashboarding. We have a little over 1,200 customers in countries worldwide. We're a very fast-growing company with a little over 120 employees at this point, and where we differentiate ourselves. Unlike a lot of our counterparts, we are self-funded, which means we really grow by having happy customers and having them reference us via word of mouth. And instead of pouring money into sales and marketing, we leverage our trusted partners, such as Tridea, to go out and recommend customers that are a good fit for our product. And one of the sample awards that we're proud of, this is our second year on the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And for those that aren't familiar with Gartner, it's just a leading CPM research company that lists us as one of the cutting-edge companies in that space. So the next part, what I want to do is show you all the components in the BI360 Suite. And BI360 works in 4 primary areas. So reporting, planning, dashboarding, and warehousing. And what you'll see is you start off by creating your reports in Excel. It's Excel with drag and drop capabilities. We also have an ad hoc reporting tool for quick on-the-fly analysis. And you're going to be able to execute your reports in Excel, on the web, and through mobile devices. And we have apps available both in Google Play and in the Apple Store. For distribution, you could automate a lot of your manual push by going through, selecting users, and having them receive either an email or save to a specific folder. The planning, very much married to reporting, because you start by creating a report and then turning it into an input form. But full planning with workflow for both operational and financial forecast and budgeting. And the dashboard layer, graphical interfaces of your data to give your executives or whoever's consuming your data charts, graphs, and really make the data more personal. And then the last part here is this warehouse, which leads us into the next slide, and the last one, which is most important. And this is going to illustrate how the architecture is going to look in your environment. And if you follow my cursor, what you see, we have live reporting available both for Great Plains and AX. And what I mean by live is when you go through and post a journal entry, you'll immediately see that in the reporting tool. And that's because since the majority of our customers are either Great Plains or AX, what we've done is we've looked at all the SQL table names, translate it in simple business terms, and this is an out-of-the-box functionality. Now, in addition to just doing this off general ledger, you're going to have real-time data from your subledger as well, which means if you want to draft your payable, receivable, or even a sales report, whatever modules you have in your AX or Great Plains system, you're going to immediately be able to do that here. Okay. Now, maybe you're saying this is great, but aside from Dynamics, I have other data sources. Perhaps you have a disparate data source in just regular Excel. Maybe you have a point of sale system. Maybe you have some sort of manufacturer and pharmaceutical, proprietary or SQL Server-based system that you've grown. What we can do is load all of that data using SQL Server integration services into our Data Warehouse Manager, which is a very user-friendly interface for finance and accounting folks to be able to import, export data, and really have one central version of the truth here. And what's neat is the same reporting tool you're going to go through and use to report across all of your data sets. Then, if you want to say, all right, this is great, but I also want to be able to input data for forecast, budgeting, and want to see who input data, have version control, and everything else, what you'll see is a second add-on onto Excel where you can go input data back into this warehouse and then create your actual to budget reports. And then last, to view data, one of the ways you can do so is via our dashboarding tool here, which looks live at Dynamics and also the warehouse. And what this is really for is being able to go in, view, and drill down in your reports, and also have dashboards in here. So what I want to do here is pause for a second and make sure I iterate a very important topic. About 50% of our customers go in and say, this is perfect, I want the comprehensive solution. And they might purchase reporting, planning, and dashboarding all at once. However, the other 50 might go in and say, well, right now my pain point really is reporting. So let's start with that. And what's neat about that is if you go through, and maybe in a phase 2 or 3, you can add these modules. So you don't have to purchase all of this at once. You can create a phase approach and grow into our tool as your business scales. And what that offers you as an advantage is, when you do go in and add these tools, everything's going to be integrated and you're working with one platform and one vendor for all of your corporate performance management needs. I realize this is a lot of information, and what I want to do next is jump into the demonstration to actually show you how all this looks and feels. And what I'll do is I'll start off with the dashboard component, which is where your end users are going to consume data. Then I'll go in and I'll actually build a report. So I'll build out a trial balance from scratch. This is where your power users are going to see how to create a report. Then show you a report that contains data already, so what an end result can look like, and then finish off with the planning piece. So first, imagine you're a senior manager, and what you're going to do is access your data. One of the ways you can do it, I'll go into Internet Explorer here, but you can go through any web browser, and as previously mentioned, we also have mobile apps available. And I'll log in here with my credentials. Now, if I am a sales and marketing executive and I log in here with my credentials, all I'll be able to see is sales and marketing if that's what the administrator selects. So security that you set up in one place in BI360 is carried across all of the applications. And I'll go in here, log in, and what I immediately see has all the reports and dashboards either I uploaded or someone uploaded on my behalf. And what I like to do here is go in and toggle certain ones as favorites. Then, instead of looking through all of these, since it's unique to the username, you can go in and see the ones that are most relevant for you. Now you're probably saying, well, this is great because I can keep everything organized. And furthermore, all these folders are going to be unique to the username as well. So if you want to have your maybe development reports in one place, your operationals in another folder, and so on, you can keep everything nice and organized over here in categories. What I'll do, and again, I'm just going and showing you test reports, and this is pointing off a corp database. What you'll be able to do is develop your own dashboards and reports. This is just what I'm showing for demo purposes. This goes in, gives you a benchmarking dashboard, showing you how you're doing compared to other companies, maybe an executive giving you a holistic overview of the business here, and then moving more granular. So CFO, maybe something showing top line here, projects, and anything else that's important and relevant to analyze in your business. Then what you see is I'm scrolling through and seeing my operational and formatted reports. So I get my P&L, my balance sheet, and then for those of you that are currently using Management Reporter, what you don't have in Management Reporter is subledger reporting, right? You probably have to use SQL Server Integration Services or something else. Whereas here, you can create all of your subledger reports as well. And you can see an AR, AP, HR, anything else you want to create. Just to look at this, if I open up a sales report, I can go in, and this was ran for corporate US with its data. And if I want to change this and say, maybe I want to run it for a different company or a different department, I can go in here, say corporate Asia, click the refresh button, and now I get a brand new report. Taking a look at one more, maybe I want to go in and analyze my P&L. Click it. All the reports that I previously ran are over here on the left. What I can do is expand this. Okay? You can see this was ran for corporate Asia and for August. Now for product revenue, maybe I'm not sure why this is over 2.5 million. So what I want to do is right click, and directly from here, I can drill into my summary, but I can also drill into my vendor, my journal entry, any information in your subledger. And the way this looks is you click it, you can build your own custom ones, and it shows you the underlying data directly from your dynamic system or the warehouse if you're leveraging that component to support that transaction. Now you're probably saying, all right, well, what else can I do from here? And I'll click the share button. Provides a QR reader. You can scan on your phone, a link, and what I'll do is download it as a file back into Excel. So maybe I'll just say testing, click save. You can see that the download is completed. And this is great, so if you do want to do what-if analysis, what I can do now is open up this P&L testing that I created on the portal. Okay? And if I go in here, what's really neat about this is it's all true Excel. So maybe I want to go into product revenue and say, well, my product revenue here is going to grow to 1.2. I just haven't closed the books yet. Watch what happens when I click enter. All the data changes, right? That's because if we look at variance or the percentage, all of these are just Excel formulas. But you're probably looking at this and saying, great, but what if I want to run it for a different company? Or in your case, this might be a different department division or a different month. What you can do back on this portal is, I'm going to collapse out of here. I can go through and say, well, now I want to see corporate US, and I actually want to see previous month's performance. I want to see July here. Click refresh, and it'll give you brand new data for those parameters. Hopefully what you're seeing in this tool, that you can really keep things nice and organized. So instead of having multiple spreadsheets for your different companies, departments, and then the months, here you have one, you ran it for different parameters, you refresh it, you expand, and you can see corporate US July with the ability to drill into any of this data here. Now, for the senior managers, a lot of times they look at this, but they want to see more charts. So what they can do is scroll down to the bottom, and I'll go into this revenue dashboard. And this is loosely based on our business, but you'll be able to customize this as you see necessary. And this shows you your product sales, service sales, maintenance. And really the purpose of this, you're going to be able to interact with your dashboards. So if I want to see corporate US, I can click it, you can see the quarters change, and all of the data underneath here change as well. Again, maybe I care about corporate Canada, and I want to see which quarter had the most revenue. Click. I can see that 31% of the revenue came from quarter 4. Kind of showing you just a few more dashboards. This is something maybe that just pertains to the CFO, so giving you your revenue by companies, your key expenses, receivable, payable, and again, click a company, and you see all the data change and the revenue segments to reflect that specific department or company I selected. And then the last one that really shows you the power of this warehouse, what we did here, we took data from Excel, from Yahoo Finance, and uploaded it back into our warehouse. And what you get from here is a nice dashboard. The key performance indicators that are important for us is revenue growth percentage, gross margin, but you can change these. And we took our company, some industry averages, and 2 competing companies in the space. And this clearly shows you, how you're doing compared to other companies. And next year, all you have to do, instead of creating a brand new dashboard, you pick 2016, click this refresh button, and it'll give you a brand new dashboard. Now maybe you're looking at this and you're saying, all right, I want to grow into this, but we're just not there yet. Right now, what I want to do is just keep it a little bit more simple and just show me how the reporting piece works. So, what's the level of complexity, or hopefully lack thereof, associated with building something like this? And what I'll do for that is I'll go through and now transition a little bit. Maybe instead of a senior manager, put yourself in the shoes of an accountant or a finance person that's creating their reports. So I'll open Excel. Okay. On top of Excel, you'll see that you'll have 2 tabs, BI360 Reporting and Planning, if you want to add that component. Now, what you also might notice, all the tabs in Excel that you're used to are still here. And that's because, I want to reiterate this over and over throughout the presentation. This is truly Excel. All the formulas, all the formatting that you're used to, you can go in and leverage here. If I did have an existing Excel template, I can select New Current, Continue Building. In our example here, I'll go in and select New Blank. Now, you'll be able to either go into the Data Warehouse, GP, or AX for those customers. Just to keep it neutral, what I'll do here, I'll go into this Data Warehouse Manager, and what you'll see when you click in is our tool makes this accessible and makes report writing, not just GL, but subledger as well, for finance and accounting folks. So you don't need a technical background to be able to write your reports. And I'll probably, just for simplicity, write a report out of General Ledger, but all the same concepts are transferable if you wanted to write an aging report, a sales report, anything else that you have. And what I'll do is I'll go in, and when I open up the GL summary, all the SQL table names have been translated. So department's department, your division's going to be division, and so on. Now what I want to do here is I'll go in and maybe just build out a really quick trial balance. Okay, so I'll type in trial balance, and on the rows, I want to go in and I want to see my accounts, just typing this into Excel. Maybe I want to see the description, and I want to see the year-to-date compared to the last year-to-date here. Okay. And then last piece, I want to see the variance. For formatting, you don't have to learn any sort of proprietary language. All you do is go in and leverage everything you already know in Excel. Okay? And this is hopefully going to save you a lot of time because, again, you're using a full kind of BI CPM tool, but you don't have to worry about learning the proprietary language associated with that because we're in Excel. So what I want to do, maybe just add some borders here to keep this report nice, expand the margins, and now I'm ready to show you, the functionality that doesn't reside in Excel. For users that are familiar with pivot tables, they'll find this layout editor a bit easier to work with because it also leverages that row and column concept. And what I'll do is I'll drag and drop account on the row, and as advised, create a selection group. And as I do that, inside of my layout editor, I click in my magnifying glass, okay, and I can go in and cherry pick all the accounts I want here. Now, the advantage of doing this, okay, and as I pick my accounts, everything except my 9s, if I go into either AX or Great Plains and add account, if you follow my cursor is right now, 68015, right in between here, I'm going to automatically see that in the reporting tool without having to go back in there and manually add that account. And that's because what our software uses is ranges. And you'll see that all the accounts are going to expand down the row. And probably it's good practice. The consultant me wants to go in here and add, 8999s in case you guys ever add a new account here. Oops, excuse me. So I'll click OK. And again, just remember, everything we're doing right now is in design mode. So we're creating this report for a power user to, for an end user to be able to go in and say, hey, right now it's September, I want to see data, and then next month just select their own month. Next thing I want to do here is right under account, I have my description, drag and drop, because I want to see the description associated with that account. Scroll down, and then drag the monthly amount in year to date and into last year to date. Now, how am I going to distinguish this? Well, hopefully it's pretty logical, but you go into this functions, which have a lot of pre-built functions here. If I wanted to do Q1 of this year compared to Q1 of last year, I would do the exact same things as I'm going to show you with year to dates. So I'll go and say year to date here and last year to date. Now, a question I always get, can I change these titles? Absolutely. If you want to change these titles, you can. Okay? So now it created a column filter. And then the last step here for a variance, all formulas you use in Excel, you can use with BI360. So let's pause here for a second. Let's see, we're really basically done with our trial balance. I want to pause here and say, all right, what is an end user? What are they going to be able to do? And what they're going to do is go to this Run tab, okay, and say, well, right now it's, let's just say it's September of 2015. Scroll down, pick up September, click OK, run this, okay, and then see the accounts, the descriptions, along with the year date and last year date amount with the variance listed on the row. Again, you go in and say, next month you add account 69025. All you do is click Run again, and you immediately see that account. It's also protected, which is one of these powers. So if your user goes in and makes a bunch of mistakes here, okay, what you can do is just click Run, and you get a brand new report, right? Because all this is now from a database. And then what do you do next month? Well, next month you go in, you pick up October now, click Run, and you get new data. You can also drill into your data, one stop, drill down, okay? And you can see the periods. Since we ran year to date, it's obviously giving you, 10 months of data here. And if I scroll over, it can give you the currency if you have that, journal entry, and you can customize it. So it can actually pull in your vendor information, transaction source, and anything else. Now you're saying, all right, well, what if I want to run it for a different department or a different company? I'll show you a few variations here. So what you can do is I'll drag and drop, maybe create next, and I'll use this tree just for example. Click next and create a sheet per value. Okay? And what this is going to do is I'll now be able to select whatever roll-up I want of my company. So I'll pick this company description here. Maybe don't create a selection group, add a few more rows. And now when I go in and run this, I can select from the tree I created. So if I just want to see corporate US, click Run, great, I just see corporate US, right? However, if I go in here and say, well, what I actually want to see is distribution, when I click Run, watch, I'm going to get a tab for distribution, a tab for corporate Canada with its own information, and a tab for corporate EMEA. And I can do that with departments, with anything else. Okay? So again, if I'm interested, in seeing, if I'm interested in seeing the department, okay, I go in here, go into this layout editor, and just drag and drop department in here. Okay? And now when I go in and run this report, I can also select whatever department I want to see and see that in the report. So what I want to do here is transition a little bit and say, all right, well, this is fine, but this is replacing my financial. What about a more complex report? And what I'll do here, I'll go back into planning, go into my assignments, and here we have all of the reports that we've pre-built. And again, we have various verticals. I'm just showing you kind of a base one that we always show. And what this is doing, if I look at it, you can select any of these reports. Now, great baseline for starting. What these are reports we've already built, and I don't want to oversell it. It's not just simply plug and play, but really good starting point. You can add your own department, division, your own fields, and leverage a lot of these reports that we've pre-built for you. What I'll do is I'll show you one of my favorites, which is the BI360 Decision Pack. And if I look at this, from the design perspective, again, where your power users creating them, okay? Here I have my top 10 receivables inside of this layout editor. So, as these change in your actual system, the report's going to update. You can always change it if I want here to top 15, whatever your business prefers. Top vendor payments, top sales transactions. And as you're looking at this, you're probably saying, well, what am I looking at? Why is this all gibberish, right? And that's because all of this is going to generate with information based on whatever parameters you select. And furthermore, it's going to roll into a news tab and give you a holistic overview of your business here. So you see right now it says description, sees moderate improvement in period end, your profitability, your top line. What's going to happen is your manager or a senior manager is going to go into run and say, great, well, I want to see corporate US, SUS, it's a company I care about, for this analysis. I want to compare actual to budget as opposed to budget version 2 or 3. And I just want to select September, the current month. Click Run. And as this is generating, which gives you a little time clock here, all of these tabs are going to fill up with information and roll into this news tabs. So under 10 seconds, really what you see here now is corporate US sees great improvement because we did well in September. Tells you how profitable you were for that company, your top line, who your top customers were, your products, who owes us money, and who we owe money to. And if I move over here, quick and dirty dashboard, just in Excel, but again, you built it once. As your debt equity ratio changes, this is going to update. Trend, loosely based on our business, but 12-month rolling trend as of September, because that's the month we selected here. P&L variance, but look at it, it says September, and gives you, if I collapse this over here, year to date and last year to date. And as you saw in the trial balance, we have expanding rows and columns. So if you go in here, you can actually expand the column and see 9 months of information. Needless to say, if we ran it for October, we would see 10 months of info. Okay? And the same thing on the rows. I want to see it, I see my accounts here. Okay? Just leveraging the power of groupings in Excel. So cash flow, giving you your cash position, handle both direct and indirects here. Balance sheet as of September. A few more charts in Excel, and then top 15 sales transactions, which if I want to see this specific customer, can click and see the salesperson that sold it, the date sold, the quantity times the unit price, which is extended price. Payments here, so top 10 vendor payments. Click plus, see the transaction dates, receivables, and similar to the trial balance, right? If you go in next month, and maybe Castle and Resort is no longer in the 10th place, there's another customer that owes us more than $70,053. You'll see that new customer now, okay, when you click this refresh button. Again, next month you go in, let's say you select October, you run it, okay, and now you'll see a brand new report here. Okay? needless to say, it's going to say October, and if we scroll over here, it's going to give you, 10 months of information. And all the tabs change as well, right? So if I look at the very first tab here, it says corporate USC's weak decline in October yet, because that hasn't happened yet. Okay. Great. So from here, what you might be looking at, you're saying, this is great, but you also said this was going to be a budgeting. So hopefully what I demonstrated so far is you create your reports in Excel, and then really the purpose is you create them once, and then you're able to rerun them over and over for the different parameters. If I want, all I do here is I'll go in and publish this report onto the web. And then if you prefer to consume your reports on the web instead of Excel, you can do so. And that's like what I showed when I first started this demonstration. So now, what I want to transition is into planning. But as I'm doing this, just remember, in essence, planning were all reports that were then turned into an input. And I'll go back into this planning tab, go into assignments, full workflow capabilities, by the way, with budgeting. So if I look at this, and this one, you can set a start and end date. So your end user doesn't input data after a certain date. You can see that this one was submitted already. You can say when, you can see when it was opened, and then you can approve or reject them. Okay. Showing a few more here. This one was reopened, so maybe you didn't submit it, and they have to go through and re-enter their budget. What I'll do here is I'll start off with a really simple template, which is this profit and loss, and pick out a company, pick out a department. By the way, as I'm doing this, I'm an administrator, so I have rights to all the departments, but you'll be able to individualize this. So if I'm an executive that can maybe only just see sales and marketing, when I click this, I'll only be able to see sales and marketing. If you're an exec that can only see finance and accounting and admin, those are going to be the only two departments you'll be able to see. So full security setting. And we do a lot of payroll, so it can get as granular as account or even journal entry. Click OK. And what I'll do here, I'll keep September. It's been kind of our go-to month for this demo. And what it does gives you 9 months of data for actual and 3 months that you can forecast out to for sales and marketing. Scrolling over here, this is just a report. You can add whatever data you want here on the right-hand side. And for us, we just put last year's actual. The way you input data, really simple, as you would do with Excel. You can click this input. You can also go in and say, if you want to use a formula in Excel, you can go in and do that. So maybe I want to take an average here. Go in and say average, multiply that by 1.2, click enter, and then save that data back into the database. Now you're saying, all right, well, what's the benefit of actually saving it back? I'll show you a really small example, and then we're going to multiply that by all the departments and divisions you're going to be doing this for. So let's say next month, if you're running this off Excel, what you'd have to do is take the actual data for October, copy and paste it here, and then do that for every single department. Whereas in this tool, all you're doing is you're selecting October, clicking run, and it's automatically going to replace October with actual data now. And then you can reforecast here. And by the way, you can just change forecast version 1, 2, 3. You can also change your departments here. So finance and accounting, if I wanted a budget for that, forecast for that. I don't have revenues here for finance and accounting, just expenses. Good gives you a big picture perspective, and what a lot of our customers leverage this for is payroll budgeting. And I'll show you an example, but you can leverage this for anything. You can imagine maybe instead of assumptions here, you want to go in and say, hey, if the economy doesn't do well, here's what it is, here's the percentages. If the economy does well, here are the percentages. And you can do a lot of what-ifs that blow out into your P&L. What I'll show as an example is my assumptions for payroll. So I'll click Run, okay? And this gives you your taxes. You can do your capital life, travel assumptions. And again, this could be your revenue driver, whatever it is. The point is, instead of using links in Excel that might break, what you're going to do is you're going to say, I'll just change the spike rate and save it back to the database. Okay? As it gets saved, we can use it in a different template. So I'll go in here and go back into our payroll, our personnel form, okay? And now it's going to use that 8.55 spike rate to calculate everyone's compensation. So I'll go in and say, maybe, I just want to see these 3 departments, okay? Depending on whether you do, bottom up or top down approach. Click run. And since I picked those 3 departments, by the way, you can see finance and accounting, full-time, part-time employees, sales and marketing, and then, HR. Okay? If I did go in here and say, I just want to see finance and accounting, click OK and run, I'll just see finance and accounting. What's really neat about this is right now it's just showing you more reporting capabilities, right? So, you can actually say, hey, maybe you want to see your expenses within a specific department, right? So you can go in and say, on the outside group, I have my departments. On the inside, I have my full-time, part-time employees or expenses, whatever you want. Really flexible from a reporting standpoint. What I do here is, I want to go through and say, well, Shane here was going to be a senior accountant, maybe next year, and as a hire date, I want to go in and say, and we're going to hire Shane in this position. We're going to promote him in March. You can also have an end date if you want. Maybe in October he's going to be going to business school. What we want to do here is potentially increase his salary to incentivize him to come back. Okay, we'll increase his salary 5% here. Okay. Great. As we do this, you can also do a dollar increase. You can really customize this. This is just a template that we use. And customization is relatively simple because this is Excel, right? Furthermore, I keep saying it, customers often ask, well, hey, can we do X, Y, Z? We do this right now in Excel. And the answer without me even looking is yes, right? Because anything you do in Excel, you can do in our tool. What I want to do, maybe add a bonus. I'll add a commission here and scroll over and say, yes, they're eligible for benefits. So I'm doing this. I can see Shane's salary, 0 in January, February. We see the increase here and the drop off when he leaves the company and goes to business school. Okay, his total salary, you get your total comp, you get the commissions overtime broken out. Scrolling more over here, the bonus, the taxable income. Okay. And then for his FICA FUTA SUTA to calculate his taxes and benefits, it now uses that 8.55 FICA rate instead. Okay. And scrolling over more, head count, workers' comp, really flexible in what you want to go through and calculate based off those inputs. If you go in and add a new employee, what you'll see here is I'll go in and say maybe you want to hire this accountant, say 45. As I do this, it says to be hired. When I actually hire someone, it's going to replace it with the name. This is going to store to payroll, and right below it for finance and accounting, this is going to store to the general ledger. Okay. So next template that I'll show before I pause and open this up for questions is I'll go back in here and maybe what I want to do is go into my assignments, okay? Go in and show you my expenses with line item details, another template, and I'll do this with expenses, but you can leverage this line item detail concept for anything you want. Choose a company, choose a department. Just for some variation here, I'll pick up October. What we're doing in this template, we're budgeting operational expenses for next year. And we're going to use 10 months of actual and 2 months of forecast as a benchmark. So, solution architects, I just have numbers that I previously input here. For you guys, it would be blank. Scroll over. Everything in yellow is input. And what I'm using as a baseline is 10 months of actual and 2 months of forecast. And guess where that forecast is coming from? That forecast is coming from the very first template that I showed you. So you're not using links, and it can't break. And furthermore, if I scroll down, all the accounts that are budgeted on other forms would appear here as well. And you get your total expenses here for last year. Okay. So how do you input data? You know you can use formulas now. You can just type it in. Another thing you can do with our software is I can go in here and I'll just pick office supplies, click enter data, and it brings up a brand new interface here. Okay, and what I can do is add my line item details. One sec here. Okay, and brand new interface with a little charting component here, and right below it. Oops, give me one sec here. Saved it too fast. Oh, sorry about that. Go back in here, open this up. Okay. So what I wanted to show. So run this. Go into office supplies, click enter data, okay, and it should bring up a brand new icon here. And what you see is a little charting component. Actually, the budget's green right now because I haven't input any data. And right here for office supplies, 10 months of actual and 2 months of forecast for current year. And what I want to do here is say, well, this is all right, and I want to use that as a baseline to budget next year. So I'll go through and say copy history, okay, and then it goes in and says 10 months of right here, excuse me, uses 10 months of actual and 2 months of forecast as a baseline here for next year, okay. So you see it's the exact same. But maybe your business is going to grow. Maybe your business is going to grow 7%. What you can do is increase by 7%, and great for modeling seasonality here. And by the way, don't have time to show you every spreading method, but you can see here, you can use historical average, quarterly spread, various spreading mechanisms are available for you. Also, if you want to say, all right, well, I actually want to get a more granular budgeting process in place. I want my budget managers to say exactly what they spent money on, like which office supplies. What you can do is click line item details, and then right below office supplies, you can go in here and say paper. Maybe this is what we spent money on, which months for paper, $1,000 in April, and in September. I know that's when we're going to purchase a lot of paper. And then you can say here, September is the sale at Staples. Now the benefit of doing all this, what you'll be able to do now is drill into office supplies, okay, and see who input data for which months and what were their comments for that. Okay, so update Excel, great, and then I can go in and do that for the next row. And for other supplies, for hosting fees, and so forth. Close out of here, and then go in, and I can save that back to the database now. And by the way, as I do this and click run, now it changes colors. It's conditional formatting we use in Excel. So your different department heads are going to go in. If I'm a sales and marketing guy, I'll do the same thing, except for my department, which already has data in here. And then as an administrator, if you want to see the consolidated total, you just go in, select all the departments, and you can even just save as this template and save it as a report. So one thing I want to do before we pause here, what we did, and I'll go back into the architecture really quickly, just to make sure we clearly understand what we covered. We went in here, showed this web portal piece, okay? Then we built a report from scratch. Then we showed a finished report, how it would look, and then showed you a few planning templates in Excel. Now, 3 more things I want to show very quickly before I open it up for a Q&A. One is what you can do is input data here actually on the web if you prefer that. 2, we have an ad hoc reporting tool, really neat for quick on-the-fly analysis. and 3, the tool that pushes out reports. What I'll do, going back in here, going back onto the portal, what you see here, you can also have all of your budgeting templates here. So exact same concept, pick out your parameters, okay? You can expand it here, and you can budget for next year, based on, in this example, 9 months of actual and 3 months of forecast. You can input data, you can add line item details, everything you just saw in Excel you can do on the web, if you prefer. Next is, what about the ad hoc reporting tool? That's going to be called the Report Composer. For the GP users, you're familiar with Smart List, really similar, and what I can quickly do is, again, I'll just select GP here just as an example, but exact same concept as with the warehouse. You'll see the components on the different modules on the left-hand side, okay? Except this tool, you drag and drop the fields you want to see into this white space, you filter them, okay, and you organize data. Really simple. We've been working with finance, so maybe instead I want to go in and do purchasing, okay? And just to reiterate, if we can train users to pull data from the data warehouse, okay, and the users are automatically going to be able to pull data live from the ERP, okay? Exact same concept. What I'll do here is I'll go in and maybe what I want to do is take the payables transactions, just to keep it simple, expand this a bit. Maybe I want to see the vendor, vendor name here, close out of here, see the document, excuse me, the document type here, scroll down, and just to keep it simple, we'll do the current amount, okay? If I click refresh right now, I have due date maybe and document date as well. If I click refresh, it's going to show me all the data that I have in the database, okay? Boom. If I want to filter this a little bit, maybe what I want to do here is I just want to see 2 specific vendors, okay? What I can do is filter that. So let's say what I want to see is just advanced office system and a travel company, okay, as opposed to all of these various vendors. What I do is take that vendor, drag and drop it into the filter, and then I can go in and say travel company, advanced office system, click OK, refresh, and see these 2 vendors. Right click, now I can see them side by side. Okay. That's it. Everything else is really just an iteration of these concepts. So if I want to see which month it belongs to, click refresh. I can see the various months here. Maybe I can expand and see that the data in 2014. I just want to see January and February of 2014. Click this posting period in here, drag and drop, go in and say for 2014, I want to see these first 2 months. Click OK, refresh, and now I see these 2 months side by side. I can go in and group this. Okay. Vendor, you can see the 2 vendors, their due dates, document dates, and the months here. Last tool before we open up for Q&A here, Publisher. And again, the benefit, I realize it's overwhelming the amount of tools I'm showing you, but we're really your one-stop shop for automating your reporting and budgeting. So subscribers, this is the tool to push out reports, automate that process instead of manually having to push reports out and budget forms during month end or wherever you need people to input data. You add the subscribers, so who's going to be receiving these, full security setting to this, and to those subscribers you add a subscription. So the name is what's going to appear in the subject of the email. This is what's going to appear in the body. You can add reports, okay? And then after you add your reports, you set up your distribution targets. So do I want these reports as Excel workbook emailed out to the subscribers that I previously set up? You can add and say, well, I also want a PDF saved to a folder. After you add those, you go in and you set a date and time that this system automatically, converts your reports into a PDF, saves into a folder, and emails the Excel workbooks here. Great. What I want to do now is, first, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it. We have about 10 minutes left, and I want to open the floor. So if Andy can read me off the questions, I'll make sure and address each one.
Great. So just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please enter them into the GoToMeeting panel here, and then we'll read them off and answer them. So we do have one here waiting. Alex, is the budget tool able to integrate with GP or AX automatically? So when the budget is fully approved, there is an upload function. So when you approve the budget in BI360, does that create the budget over in GP or AX?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. I'm going to kind of put on my consulting hat in a little bit, just best practices. About 60% of our customers, for auditing reasons, or they just want that data in GP or AX, they'll go in and they'll say, all right, you know what, I need that data. Another 40 just keep it in the warehouse. For the people that do want to push it back into GP or AX, what we do, and really simple, we just easily set up the SQL Server Integration Services, ETL, to write that budget back into GP. So the simple answer is you can absolutely write it back to GP once it's approved.
Great. Got another one here, Alex. Do you need a license for each person running reports? Do you need a license for folks simply viewing the reports?
Yeah. Good, very good question. And the way we price out is modular, as I mentioned. So maybe you're saying, hey, this is great, but I'm not looking to budget yet. I just want to do this piece, and I want my people to access it via your web portal. So you just buy these two. That's obviously going to be less expensive. To answer your question about the different user types, is in addition to those modules, we break it out by power users, people that are creating the reports. And then end users are less expensive. Those are people that are going to be selecting parameters. Okay, so let's say it's now November. They want to pick that month, and they also want to see it for finance and accounting. They select that, click run, and then they want to drill into that data. Those are going to be end users. For the people that just want an Excel spreadsheet, they don't need a license at all.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Another one. Could you speak to the effort to deploy each of these modules? So, for example, reporting, planning, or dashboard. What is the process and what is the effort to go through the implementation?
Yep, and that question comes up very frequently, and it's one of those really tough to answer questions because it varies on a case-by-case basis. Sorry about that. That being said, what most of our customers do is take a hybrid approach, which is the reporting piece is pretty straightforward. We can train that. We can train you on it, and you should be able to create your reports. For the reporting piece, what we recommend is typically a 2-day training, and you'll be able to create all your reports. Maybe a day or two of workshop, depending on how complex your reporting is. On the planning piece, that's where the hybrid approach takes in, and maybe you'll say, well, I want Tridea or Solver to go and build some of the templates. Great. Meanwhile, I want to build the rest of them and get training on everything. So when you're implementing just reporting, I would typically just say, hey, get trained, which is 2 days on site. We also have a ton of videos on the web and everything else. If you're doing the full comprehensive suite, I would say figure out what your forms are that you're looking to replicate, and what forms you're now looking to create because you have the software. One more part to that, one more part to answer that question. This piece right here, okay, right here, is already pre-configured for you, right, for live reporting. So it's literally, you install it, which takes about an hour or two, depending on where your servers are and all the infrastructure requirements, and then you're set up for this piece. Taking the data and loading into our warehouse. our deployment of the warehouse is still typically a few days. It's not like a very long procedure. And we push this data. We have a technical team that runs SQL Server integration services, and then that automatically gets pushed into this data warehouse. A very long answer, but all important information.
Yeah, absolutely. So one last one. Does the mobile module cost extra, or is that included with the core products?
That's included. If you buy this dashboard piece, you can go in and the web the mobile piece right now. It's not dashboards. It's actually just the reports where you can drill into your data. But again, still really neat because you have all your reports and you can drill down directly from your phone. And those are just apps that you download either Google Play or in the Apple Store.
Great. Well, I think that's it, Alex. I will say that we'll be sending out a follow-up email to all the attendees here. If you have any further questions, we'll have the contact information on that email for our team here at Tridea, as well as Alex and the team at Solver. So once again, Alex, thank you so much for the time and great job, and thank you for all the attendees that spent the time here today. Look for our upcoming webinars as well in the upcoming few months, and have a great day. Take care.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
All right. Bye-bye.